All right, let's go ahead and kick things off. Hey, welcome in everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and happy New Year. This is our first DeFi space of the year. I'll be your host today. I'm Pixo from the ecosystem marketing team at Polygon Labs. Welcome to this DeFi discussion panel where we will be speaking with representatives from 0x and Coinbase Wallet to explore innovations in account abstraction and user experience. Let's go ahead and jump into some quick speaker introductions. Let's throw it over to Amir first. Can you briefly introduce yourself, who you are, and what your role is at 0x?
Everyone, thanks for tuning in and Happy New Year. I'm Amir, a co-founder and co-CEO at 0x. Been building in the space for it's been a bit over 7 years now since before DeFi was coined a term. And yeah, we'll kick it off to the next person.
Awesome. Let's throw it over to Claudia. Can we get a brief introduction on you, who you are, and what you do at Coinbase Wallet?
Hey everyone, I'm Claudia, currently a product manager at Coinbase Wallet. Been at the company for around 2.5 years now, so currently focused on our DeFi product suite, so everything from DEX trading to staking to bridging to stablecoins. And before that, worked on our advanced trade, or as you might know, Coinbase Pro's product for about a year. And yeah, super excited to be here and talk more about DeFi.
Amazing. Thank you guys for being here. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions. First off, let's add a question for both of you. User experience seems to be a barrier to wider adoption in the blockchain ecosystem generally. Could each of you share how your teams are innovating UX design?
Sure, I'm happy to kick it off. So for us, we have two main product lines. For this conversation, I'll talk about our developer facing one, 0x. It's a suite of APIs for developers that allows applications to really easily tap into liquidity across 9 different blockchains and pretty much all major liquidity sources across those chains. So if someone wants to make a swap from basically anything to anything, we'll find them the best route to do that. And then within those APIs, we have different APIs for different developer needs. So one of them is called our TX Relay API. And this is focused on letting our integrators offer their customers the very best experience possible. So it offers gasless trading, where we are submitting transactions on behalf of the end user. And they don't need to think about gas at all. Actually, on a chain like Polygon, they don't even need to worry about token approvals. It's just completely abstracted away from them. And we also handle all the complexities of transaction resubmission and things like that. So end users just don't need to think about the execution piece at all. So yeah, really focused on empowering developers to offer their users the best user experience possible. And then we're also focused on the actual developer experience. So for our customers, they can really easily spin up new API keys, manage their applications, look at analytics for all their different applications within a single self-serve dashboard. And then finally, there will also be more data APIs coming so that our customers can enrich their applications for their end users as well. Generally speaking, focus on empowering developers and making it dead simple for them to tap into liquidity.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Claudia, do you want to fill in on how Coinbase Wallet, your team, is innovating UX design?
Yeah, totally. So I would say like the past 2 years, we've really been focused on building a strong foundation and building like a super simple and intuitive user experience. I think it's come a long way. Highly recommend everyone check it out if you haven't in a while. And yeah, so I think innovations like gasless swap with 0x, like that really abstracted a key pain point with gas fees. Like beginner users are always super confused about like Ethereum gas fees, especially, and also like just throughout the ecosystem. So I think abstractions like that are super powerful. And then turning towards the future, we're really focused on like giving users the information they need. Because with crypto, when you're dealing with beginners, like they're often like, I could make a trade or I could bridge, but like, why am I doing that? So really like leaning into education, helping people learn like when's a good time to transact, like when is gas low, and also giving people like on-chain signals like this token is trending, like your friends are trading this token, leaning into notifications and tools like that. I think really excited for that future coming soon.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely very exciting. For Amir, you mentioned your TX Relay API. Can you walk us through the development of the TX Relay and why TX Relay has become a priority to 0x right now?
Yeah, so we built out this API. It was like early 2022, and we were talking to a lot of more traditional companies who were coming into the space, and they had users who were interested in trading cryptocurrencies, but were not necessarily DeFi native. And their users didn't want to think about all the complexities of managing gas and you know nonces and things like that. So we built out this gasless swap API. Actually started on the Polygon blockchain. That's where the initial demand was for. Um, and yeah, ever since then, it's been adopted by more and more products. So now it's used in Robinhood Wallet, Coinbase Wallet, and then also our own product called Matcha. And initially it was built out primarily for users who were coming into the space, but we've come to realize that it's more powerful than that. I think even for more advanced users, there are a lot of complexities of transaction execution. Like how do you get your transactions mined really quickly? How do you protect your transactions from MEV? And potentially, how do you even get rebates from MEV if MEV is extracted from your transactions? These are all things that we handle on behalf of the user, and they're going to be different for every single blockchain you're interacting with. And yeah, I think even really experienced users using DeFi today don't necessarily understand all these complexities and aren't able to get the best execution themselves. It also just solves for a lot of kind of small annoyances. Like if you just literally don't have enough gas in your wallet to make a transaction, can happen from time to time, especially if you're like trading on mobile and not really thinking about it, and you find yourself wanting to make a trade, and oh, actually, sorry, you can't because you just don't have the gas. Um, and with the TX Relay API, you could go ahead and make a swap anyways. I think this is the primary way that the Coinbase wallet is using it right now.
Awesome,
And
awesome. And
yeah,
you
and yeah, I'll just
go ahead.
also just say like I think it's going to get. I think transaction execution is going to get more complex over time, and there's going to be more things that we need to abstract away from users and developers.
Yeah, definitely. And a quick follow-up to your answer. You mentioned the integration of TX Relay on various platforms and chains. Can you share the thought process and factors your team looks at when you're considering which chains to prioritize support for?
Yeah. So our process is always largely demand driven. So, number one, we need to support that chain, period. Um, Currently, like I said, 9 different blockchains are supported with our primary API, which is the swap API. So this is if you want to tap into liquidity on any of these chains, but you're handling your own transaction execution. It's not gasless. And then the TX Relay API builds on top of that and makes the experience gasless. So TX Relay is on a subset of the chains. Currently, it is only actually on Polygon and Ethereum mainnet, because that is where we saw the demand primarily. And we are expanding to more chains as well. But like I said, there are slight complexities, I would say, to each chain. Not all chains are the same these days, and it's probably going to get worse. So I would expect more chains this year, and you probably just go down the list of where we're seeing the most volume and the number of trades, and those are the chains that we're going to prioritize.
Awesome. Thanks for that insight. We're going to throw it back over to Claudia for the next question. Can you explain the motivations and strategy behind integrating a gasless flow into the Coinbase wallet and how it's impacted trade completion rates?
Yeah, totally. So something we noticed was just like gas fees, of course, have been like a pain point for users. So that was like the top complaint we saw in our user feedback. We use a feature called Sprig, which surveys users after they complete a trade or if they drop off during a trade. So that was the first thing. We're like, okay, we know gas is a problem. What are our options? How can we approach this? And we evaluated a few things, and we've been working with 0x for a while, and like gasless swaps came up as an option. And yeah, kind of just took the plunge. And then another factor we looked at too was we saw like very high trading intent, but then we saw people would actually drop off like right when they saw the gas quote, either because they didn't have enough gas or because it was high, things like that. So we really had a strong hypothesis that like by introducing this option to pay with the pay with the source token, then we could actually increase our conversion. And yeah, performance has been really good so far. We see more gasless swaps on Ethereum than Polygon, but we do see higher conversion on Polygon, likely because of the lower gas fees. So yeah, very pleased with it so far. Excited to keep adding it to more chains and like keep optimizing it and making it like the go-to setting for users when they're completing a trade.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that answer. Another question for both of you: are there any challenges you foresee when it comes to account abstraction? What are your projects working on in order to address these challenges?
Yeah, so account abstraction definitely a hot topic in crypto, and I think it's broadly trying to solve a lot of the same challenges that our TX Relay API is solving, but in a more generic way, and for the entire space. But because it is a larger problem to solve, it's also just taking a lot longer to be adopted. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built. All the major wallets need to actually adopt this infrastructure. There are going to be tweaks for users. Need like smart contract wallets, for example. So it's just taking longer than expected, and frankly, we have been aware of and thinking about account abstraction. I remember since the very beginning of 0x, when so this was like late 2016, and we're thinking about how to even trade Ether within DEX protocols, and we decided that you needed this wrapped Ether token in order to enable that, and that's something that account abstraction could have abstracted at the time. But the point being is that I think it will be a long process for it to be widely adopted. And TX Relay is, kind of a bridge into that world that people could use today. Users don't need smart contract wallets or anything crazy like that. It pretty much just works, and you're getting all of the benefits of account abstraction, but specific to this decentralized exchange use case right now.
Yeah, definitely agree. We've been looking at account abstraction for a while now, but it's a huge infrastructure change, and we definitely want to like proceed with caution. But yeah, agree also that like there's definitely like small incremental steps we can take in the meantime to like bring some account abstraction elements into the UX without like going like full account abstraction with the wallet. And yeah, I think Gasless Swaps is a good example of this. Really excited for how account abstraction can unlock like more automation, like things like DCA or like limit orders, and just like being able to execute orders on behalf of the user. So yeah, definitely think it's coming soon, but there's a lot of like technical nuances to figure out first.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to all of that. Throwing it back over to Amir briefly. From time to time, gas spikes can happen. How does TX Relay handle these fluctuations? And what impacts does this have on the end user experience?
Yeah, so this is one of the pain points that TX Relay definitely addresses. So yeah, normally you make a trade, gas prices spike, and your trade could just get stuck in the mempool. And if you're an advanced user, you could go and resubmit your transaction with the same nonce and a higher gas price, and get it mined more quickly. But like, really, people shouldn't even need to know what a nonce is, right? So TX Relay handles that automatically. So, if we detect spikes in gas prices, we will actually just resubmit the transaction with a higher gas price for the end user. And, if there is a delta in the fee, well, I guess there will be a delta. We are essentially eating that fee on behalf of the user. So they are getting a good deal.
Awesome, awesome. And then another question for both of you, but I'm going to address it to Claudia first. DeFi markets can be highly volatile. How do your platforms help users navigate this volatility? And what roles does UX play in helping users make informed decisions?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Um, yeah, I think in terms of trading tools, like we definitely give tools to users to help like discover what tokens are trending, like which tokens have the most price movement on our Explore tabs. Definitely recommend using that if you don't already. And also with volatility, I think like charts are super critical. Like with Coinbase Wallet, most of our traders are actually doing this on their mobile devices, not on extension. So I think having like easy to use price charts, being able to see like the contract address and like verifying that you're swapping the right token, all those things are super critical. Especially as the bull market comes in, there's been just an influx of scams already, so definitely be safe out there. But yeah, I think those two, like just having like the on-chain signals to know what tokens are trending, and then like the information to be like, I'm trading the right token, this is the price movement, etc.
Awesome, Amir. Any input on that?
I would say for us, it's less about uh, helping users making a decision during a volatile time, and it's more about if someone is trying to make a trade during a very volatile time, how can we make sure that the execution is optimal during that time? Because trade execution generally gets harder during volatility. That's when gas prices are going to be wild. Transactions are going to generally revert more because the price might move while your transaction's waiting to be mined and things like that. There's more room for MEV extraction. um, so, again, TX Relay just tries to hide all this complexity away from the end user. So um, it has the lowest revert rate in DeFi. If you're trading in really high volatility and your transaction normally would have reverted, well, in this case, we're eating the cost. So you might have a failed trade a small percentage of the time, but you're never going to pay any money for that. And then also, just the MEV protection features, the resubmission when gas prices spike, really just makes it so that your transaction is going to mine quickly at a fair price, and you don't really need to think about it. And then the final thing I would say is we have a liquidity source called RFQ. So this is trading directly versus professional market makers, and they are providing the best quotes on major trading pairs the vast majority of the time. I want to say something like 70% across the top four pairs. And RFQ tends to be even better during volatile times because it comes with some execution guarantees as well. So your trades are always going to settle at a fixed price. You're never going to have any extra price impact or slippage or MEV extracted from your trades. So yeah, just focused on helping people quickly make trades during volatile times and making sure that they still get a good price.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely very important. I believe I've heard both of you mention user education in this space. Considering the complexity of DeFi, how do your teams approach user education? And are there any specific strategies or tools your teams employ to make DeFi more accessible to the average users?
Yeah, definitely. I think like our process for it is just sort of identifying like where the gaps are with education. So like in our case, we saw the biggest gap with bridging. Like a lot of we surveyed 12 people and none of them knew what bridging was, and they were all Coinbase Wallet users. So that was like a really strong example of like how important education is, especially when you're like designing these experiences. Um, so that's sort of the first step, like just doing research and identifying like where the gaps are. And then from there, we've seen a lot of success with video tutorials or like guided walkthroughs. Like you may have seen like Coinbase Learn and Earn those tend to do really well because you're actually having people like read about it and do it at the same time. But yeah, I think generally it's going to be really important going forward. And for trading specifically, I think trading is intuitive because people have like a concept already from like traditional finance, so that really helps. But things like gas fees and slippage can be a bit confusing to the average user. So I think just having like, we always have like tool tips and like help people, like if they're confused, they just click on it and can read about it. Yeah, that's how we've approached it so far. We're looking to do more intuitive experiences like Instagram story format education and videos because we still get a ton of requests for more like visual education.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Amir, do you want to touch on user education?
Yeah, so we put out a decent amount of content, blog posts. So yeah, for example, recently I think we had a blog post about what is MEV. We had a blog post about some of the different USDC tokens across different chains. There are like 20 of them probably, and really hard to navigate that situation. We put out video tutorials, Twitter threads, etc. But then I would say generally when we are building products, our approach is more about abstracting away the complexity so the user doesn't actually need to be educated. Um, and then, if it's something that they really do need to think about and be aware of, we might have a tooltip or something like that. But yeah, I think it's a combination of abstracting complexity and educating users.
Yeah, definitely. Abstracting away the complexity is a very good thought process to have. A question for both of you. I know, Claudia, you mentioned earlier your user feedback loop during the transaction you mentioned your user feedback process during the transaction process earlier. Could you discuss the user feedback loops that you have in place with your community to enhance and update your UX? And could you dive into any examples of user input changes that your teams have implemented?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, to start off, I think we have three main channels. So the first one is Sprig, which is like a user research platform that does quick surveys. The second one is we have a Discord community council. So I forget the exact way we get people on, but happy to add anyone here who's interested. But yeah, I think if you're like an active user, you'll get like a pop-up that's like, hey, do you want to join our Discord where you can like hear about new features and like give feedback and like get help more like with more priority. And then the third one is Twitter. So we do like every time we launch something, we all the PMs like look at the Twitter responses and the comments we get. So definitely Twitter is a good way to share feedback. And even just Coinbase in general, like anytime someone tweets about Coinbase, like it probably is going to end up in our product strategy channel. So like I think we take Twitter very seriously and like we definitely take like our community feedback maybe too seriously sometimes. But yeah, it's really nice like working in crypto and having that because I feel like in other industries that's like not a thing at all. So yeah, those are the three ways I would say. And then in terms of what we've done with user feedback, let's see. Oof, I might have to come back to that one, but I know there's a bunch, but it's hard to think at the top of my head. Yeah, I think like something I see a lot though is like people will like flag an issue. They'll be like, "Oh, something is broken," or like this app is like marked as unsafe, and then like within like a few minutes, we'll like immediately fix it. So like I think the turnaround loop is quite fast on our engineering team, which is nice to see.
Awesome. Yeah, and Twitter is definitely a good feedback loop from the community. Amir, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, again, we kind of two product lines. So we have our developer facing products and APIs, and then we also have Matcha, which is directly user focused. So I would say the feedback for those is a bit different. For Zero X on the developer side, um, one, you can submit feedback or get support directly in the self-serve dashboard. And then outside of that, there are a lot of different channels. So there's our Discord, um, and then there are also just direct lines with the teams that we have. Um, I would say if you need to get a hold of us, it is pretty easy to get a hold of us. We're always online, monitoring what integrators are asking for. Um, have regular calls with a lot of the larger integrators as well to get feedback. When we're building new features, especially if there are any breaking changes, we will also get feedback well in advance of launching those features. Usually before we're even ready to start building it all, we'll just have like a product spec and we'll go around and talk to the major potential customers for the new features and make sure that they're all good. Um, and then, yeah, on the user facing side for Matcha, we have a canary where people could upvote their favorite features or any feature requests that they want. We also do like user interviews, um, and yeah, quite recently, actually, we completely revamped the limit order experience within Matcha directly because of some user feedback that we were getting. We're getting a lot of the same user feedback from various channels within Matcha, and yeah, decided to just completely revamp that experience.
Awesome. Thank you for that insight. User experience and their insight into our products is something that's definitely very DeFi and blockchain native. Sorry. After addressing the community, I'm going to take a second to talk to the community and reset the room before asking our final questions of this space and closing out the space. Please drop a follow to our guests on stage and their respective projects to keep up with what they are working on. And yeah, definitely drop them a follow. Thank you guys for coming out and speaking with us. We're going to jump into a few more questions before we close out the space. Just another question for both of you. Looking into the future, what do you see as the next significant milestones or challenges in enhancing UX within the DeFi space?
Yeah, I think something I'm excited for is just like how we can make DEX trading as simple as like centralized trading, like trading on Coinbase.com. I think, especially I worked on that before joining Coinbase Wallet, and it's just like night and day. Um, so yeah, I mean, some things we're looking at is just like improving like the chart and like the technical analysis user experience. I think, especially when you're trading on desktop, that's like super key. Um, and yeah, just like as Amira said, like just making it as simple as possible, like abstracting things away. And I think we've come a long way, but there's still more to do to bring in like mainstream people into crypto.
Um, for us, the deck space is always evolving and getting more complex. There are constantly new liquidity sources that are launching, and as a DEX aggregator, we integrate pretty much every single one. Um, so staying on top of that across all the different chains, and then also making some pretty large upgrades to our pricing engine behind the scenes. Uh, a lot of what happens with indexes, I would say, is pretty invisible to end users. But a big part of user experience is also just like making sure that you're getting the best price. And yeah, I think we have some pretty good breakthroughs. Yeah, I would expect some big changes within the next few months or so. Um, and then also planning on launching more data APIs for our customers to help them enrich their product experiences for their end users and just yeah make it really easy for the end users to understand exactly what they're doing and what they already did. Just want to make sure that the quality of life for end users is as good as possible. It's something that our customers really, really care about.
Awesome. Thank you for that. As we are closing in on the end of the space, I would like to get some closing remarks from our guests on stage. We can start off with Claudia. Do you have any closing remarks or calls to action for the community?
Yeah, I would say it's been like a tough like year and a half in crypto, but I think things are really turning around, and it's been really exciting just to see like all the developments happening so far. I think like personally, like I've loved seeing like apps like Friend Tech and like Friend Pet just making crypto fun again. So yeah, very excited for this year and what's going to come. I also encourage everyone like just to build, and like if you have an idea, even if you're not technical, just like go to hackathons, go to conferences, and like find people to build with, because it also is so much easier to build when it's like not noisy. But yeah, I think crypto is such an amazing space. Been so fun and really happy that like people just like to talk about these topics and make it a better ecosystem overall. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. No problem. Very exciting space. And Amir, any closing remarks or CTAs for the community?
Check us out at zerox.org, just the number zero, letter x.org. If you are a developer in this space, I think you'll find it is surprisingly easy to get started with a swap experience using 0x and really not needing to think about all the different complexities. Another thing I'll say for new developers entering the space is, I feel like uh, in the long run, most dApps rely on swaps as a primary business model, is something that we found. Um, you know, Tokens are a pretty core primitive to the entire space. And, that just makes swapping also a pretty core action that users need to take. So even if your application doesn't need swaps right off the bat, there's a good chance that it will eventually need swaps. And when that time comes, make sure to check us out. Super easy to get started with just a few lines of code.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. As I mentioned previously, make sure you drop a follow to all of our guests on stage and their respective projects and check out what they're working on. Thank you all for stopping by today's DeFi panel discussion AMA. And I would like to extend our gratitude to the representatives from Coinbase Wallet and 0x Project for taking part in this AMA today. Thank you all for coming out, and that concludes our session.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everyone. Have a good one.